All right, so I have started our recording and I'm going to get us going this morning because I want to keep us on time. We've got 2 presentations this morning. So want to check in and say welcome to everybody as you're coming along. Quick introduction. So do I have 3 volunteers who want to introduce themselves to the group today? If you'll raise your hand in the participant box. Or not, so we'll go with the voluntold piece of this piece. All right, Shannon, let's start with you then.
I just felt like you were calling on me anyway, so I just good to see everybody.
Excellent.
My name is Shannon Richardson, and I do fiduciary financial planning for business owners. My team is called the K Group, and we are with Merrill Lynch, is where we hold our licenses and have our offices here in Fort Collins. So we work with business owners in doing their planning on both sides of the balance sheet. So not only the asset management, but also on the liability side.
Perfect. Thank you, Shannon. Genevieve, if you want to go.
Hopefully everybody's able to hear me. I think my internet's being a little fussy this morning. Hi everybody, I'm Genevieve Huxley. I am a CPA and I do fractional and outsourced chief financial officer work for small businesses in the local area. Love to help anybody if they have questions about the PPP loan, which hopefully a lot of you have finally received in the second round, and looking at setting companies up for forgiveness on a longer term basis, helping out small companies navigate the financial side of their business and assist their bookkeepers.
Fantastic. Appreciate that. And Katrina, if you'd introduce yourself this morning. Or there she is. Yes. I have unmuted you for Katrina.
Katrina said she can't hear herself, Jana. She can't hear anything.
Oh, I can't unmute her either.
So you have to volunteer somebody else.
All right. Well, great. Let's go with Yi.
Is she not here?
Nope, not hearing her either.
Well,
we're having fun this morning. Okay. That's going to be interesting. Well, it's good to see you both, and we're going to press on then, and we'll come back to maybe introductions towards the end to see if we can catch other people. Do we have announcements or events out there that we need to let the community know about? All right, Ozzy, if you want to let us know what's going on.
I just want to promote, since we're running into these issues today, we were running into similar problems over the last few weeks. We do a lot of Zooms, kind of connections internationally. I found that with all the Zoom updates, some of the routers, especially your Wi-Fi routers, the image that they use for that, the firmware is out of date. So I went into my router, which is fairly new, and I upgraded the firmware, and all of a sudden all the problems went away, and we were having issues with sound going away and video going away. So if you start running into that, go into your router, upgrade the firmware, and it may take care of the problem. Just
awesome. Handy tip for this morning. I appreciate that. It does seem like we have a new Zoom download on a regular basis. I want to share with everybody this morning the event that Launch NoCO is putting on tomorrow, which will be setting up your business, the paperwork edition. And so we will have a 3-hour opportunity for folks to do all of the paperwork to get their business started with 5 of our experts in the community, a couple of who have joined us here this morning. So if you know someone who is getting ready to start a business or has recently started a business and aren't entirely certain that they have all the paperwork pieces, this is the practical hands-on workshop for them. We'll walk through formation, EINs, getting your business banking account, what contracts and law pieces you might need, as well as insurance and each individual city's requirements in terms of licensure. So that is out there and in multiple areas of groups. So if you guys know anybody that might benefit, please pass that along to them. We will be recording it, but I'd love to have a large group live with us. Any other events out there we need to chat about? Okay, hearing nothing, I'm going to get us started in our first presentation this morning with Chuck, who is going to be talking to us about Zebulon. So Chuck, I'm going to have you take it away. Our fun fact that I want to introduce Chuck with is that he writes speculative fiction, everything from horror to science fiction and fantasy, in his copious free time. So Chuck, please take it away.
All right, see if I can get the screen share going here. We tried this earlier, it works, so. Big masses of purple.
We do see a purple. We're good.
All right, good. All right, so I'm Chuck Hodges. I'm co-founder and CEO of Zebulon Solutions. We're a product design and supply chain services company. We make products manufacturing ready. So ask for today. We're a niche B2B service provider, and this is very challenging on the marketing side. So very interested in inputs on what works, what doesn't for B2B as opposed to B2C or even B2B products. The second ask is we are very much a very narrow niche, and we struggle to package ourselves for prospective customers so they know what we do and why they need us. And the third one is, introductions to similar small B2B services businesses around the area. I'd love to have virtual coffee with other CEOs in similar predicaments and compare notes on marketing and sales and stuff like that. Okay. All right. About us. We were founded in 2009 in the middle of the last recession. We literally hit the bottom of the stock market was our start date. We've been growing steadily. We've actually always been profitable. We generate cash, so we don't have any need for financing. 12 personnel split between employees and contractors, but that was before COVID. So our markets are super diverse. We do clean tech, we do medical, industrial, energy, consumer. We've worked with very, very early startups through pre-unicorns, SMBs, small, medium-sized businesses, multinationals. Sweet spot, though, is kind of in the middle of that, late-stage startups and small to mid-sized businesses. And our unique selling proposition is really that we combine supply chain operations and design services together. We really, really know how to get products into manufacturing, and that's pretty rare in the design community. And we've done some really cool stuff. The big transformer you see hiding there, it's an IoT transformer, hangs on power lines, and well, gee, it's hidden on my screen, but the smart hockey puck for the National Hockey League. If we ever start playing hockey again, this will be in the playoffs. All right, so we're a Colorado company based in Longmont. We do have a global reach. Natalie was mentioning getting lots of early conference calls. We do a lot of this as well. We've had customers Australia, India, Europe, Mexico. We also have suppliers all over the planet as well. We'd love to have more business in Colorado. Honestly, it's only been about 30% of our business historically, but it is what it is. DNA, we've done a lot of stuff. We have a very senior team. We've done wind turbines. My team at Flextronics, when I ran global engineering, did all the tests for Xbox. We've done blood glucose meters, JDSUs, fiber optic transceivers, all sorts of fun stuff. All right, so our services, we have basically 3 services: product design, everything from electronics design, firmware, mechanical. We do a lot of cost down redesign work, again, with this focus on manufacturability and of course, a lot of DFM. Supply chain is setting up, developing, tearing down. We've helped our customers hire and fire their vendors. Working a lot on reshoring right now. We'll talk a little bit about that later. And we also do a fair amount of operations consulting at the strategic side, and as well as practical things like industrial engineering. We do a fair amount of operations coaching, and various members of my team have been fractional COOs, VP Ops, VP Engineering, whatever for a lot of companies. So we do offer that as a fractional service, similar to a lot of y'all who perhaps use or are fractional CFOs. All right, so superpower. It's our 1-2 punch is engineering and supply chain. We really, really know how to integrate this together. We've collectively put hundreds of products into manufacturing. I've got 60 or 70 of those, but we really know how to do this. We've made all the mistakes on someone else's nickel, and we've got a lot of experience. And honestly, this is very unusual in the design world where most of the staff tends to be relatively fresh out of school folks, and the supply chain world where you have a lot of senior folks but don't have the design chops. The flip side of this, our kryptonite, if you would, is that what we do on the back end isn't easy to understand. People get design, they kind of get supply chain a little bit. The integrated approach, the putting it into production, it's like, well, why do we need this? It's easy. We just hire a contract manufacturer and we're done. So good news is we have a great niche. We're almost unique in it. Bad news is how do you describe a unique niche? And honestly, most of our business comes from companies who have tried and failed in the past. It's kind of sad. It often puts them in a hole because they're already behind schedule and short on cash, but that's the sad truth. So we'd really like to be more proactive. All right, current status, like almost everybody in this virtual room, I think, hey, business was booming before COVID, and now it's not. So we have not had layoffs. We're still hanging in there. Our balance sheet is actually very strong. Nice thing about having a good cash flow. We got our PPP loan, yes, second round, but it worked. So we're in pretty good shape there, but honestly, we're scrambling, trying to figure out what our business looks like. There are a lot of challenges with COVID in our world. The startup ecosystem, it's frankly a mess. People that have money are hoarding it and trying to make it last as long as possible. People that don't have funding, well, they got a problem. The multinationals, the really big companies, they've got kind of a similar but different problem in that they tend to suffer from paralysis by analysis. I mean, their knee-jerk reaction in these type of situations is let's go analyze things and put everything on hold. And on a practical basis, site visits, Teresa, my supply chain manager, who's hanging on the call here, I mean, she usually spends a lot of time on airplanes talking to people. That isn't going to happen. So COVID focus, we are working on some COVID solution projects. We're doing a UVC sanitation system for masks for a local company that's getting some traction with CU Health. Other essential industries, reshoring, it's a big, big area right now, both politically and practically, and we're doing a lot of work in that area. And networking, marketing, I mean, we're all out here, just like I think everybody else is putting ourselves out there. We are long on time and a little short on cash to do this, but we're making the best effort we can. That's it. Repeat on the ask, contact info, and some pretty pictures.
Excellent. Thank you, Chuck. All right, folks. If you'll unshare your screen so we can all look at each other while we talk about this stuff. All right, so in your participant box, hands up for first pieces of feedback and commentary on Chuck's ask. Chuck, I missed in this, and just to clarify for me, how many employees did you say you had?
We have 12 total between contractors and employees, which breaks out 7 employees and 5 contractors.
Fantastic, great. All right, Ozzy, let's start with you.
Up and down a little bit on the contractor side. Oh, come on.
Okay, I'm sorry. You calling me Jana?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Chuck, that was a
yes.
Great presentation. It's the sort of thing that an engineer like me likes to see because, well, we have the brain damage necessary to understand it. Having said that, from a business standpoint, I think the critical point is that you spend much of your time on your capabilities instead of your value proposition. And there is a job to be done that you're doing for these companies. There is a value that you're delivering to them. And one of the things that I didn't see there is a contrast between companies that use your services and those that don't. And it seems to me there should be a clear contrast there, and it is. So the question is, what are they saving? I mean, if you don't use these kinds of services, then it will take you longer to begin manufacturing. It may cost you more to do manufacturing. You're going to have to get into areas where you're not expert at, such as setting up your supply chains and so on. And these are the things that we can take off your hands. And then one question that you may want to ask yourselves is, as part of your value proposition is, do we just do it for you? Or do we always also train you and show you how to do it yourself as you move forward? So there's a variety of different ways in which you can frame your value proposition. But that was the one part that didn't come through. Your capabilities were great. I mean, you described those right on point, your differentiation in terms of how you operate. The problem is that when you start differentiating yourself, the story is about you. When you talk about value proposition, the story is about potential clients. And so that was the part that I did not see come through loud and clear.
Thanks.
Great. Genevieve?
Hi, Chuck. I just wanted to ask if you happen to know Nancy Rumfeld, because she does fractional CFO work, and she works, she has a kind of a niche with manufacturing companies. I think she'd be a really great person for you to connect with if you haven't not met her already. She's based, I think she lives in Loveland, but she's in the northern Colorado area. I can connect you with her.
Would love that.
Okay,
Thanks.
I can connect you with her if you have an email address. I didn't capture it on from the slides. If you can put that in the chat box, I'll send an email to introduce you guys. That was it.
Will do. No,
Great.
that's the kind of intro I'd love to have. And we actually work with a bunch of, most of our customers have fractional CFOs, at least the startups. So, but ones that specialize in manufacturing and stuff is super important to us versus those that specialize in food or, tech software.
Yep, and I'd love to connect with you later too. So I'll send you an email with that information with your later.
All right, Matt?
All right, can you hear me?
Yep.
Fantastic. So one thing that just occurred to me is this might be a great opportunity for, actually one question first. Are you working on like getting customers or converting leads into customers? Where on the funnel are you having problems?
So I mean, the simple answer is yes and yes, but our conversions technically are quite good. I mean, we run about 40% on conversions from anybody we write a proposal for. So, well, we'd love to obviously do a little better than that. I think in our industry, that's a darn good number. So, the challenge is, live, getting people up to the, through leads and into opportunities is a challenge. And right now, of course, finding people that both need it and who have money to do it, or who are willing to spend that money is a double challenge. So.
Right. Well, one thought I had that might be something you want to look at is, so it sounds like you've got a unique set of services, but it's kind of hard to understand how that plays out in the potential customer. You might have an opportunity here for, if you can get somebody to a website, have sort of like an automated flow chart, but like an interactive flow chart that says, hey, what's your problem? And then say, I have this kind of problem, and basically design the flow chart to kind of exclude the major categories of people that you just obviously can't help. But other than that, try and funnel everybody in, and also give them an idea of what you can do for them as you winnow out the ones that don't work for you. Use it as an opportunity to both, have them self-select and also show them all the things you can do, and they get to discover it by working their way through the flow chart.
That's a cool idea. I like that.
Self-selecting marketing saves you so much time. Stephen.
Hey, Chuck. Real quick, one of the things that you mentioned is that you're having a hard time articulating the value proposition. You've been in business a while. Have you thought about or had the opportunity to ask your customers that you have had what that value has meant to them, and find out what language they would use to describe what you bring to the table? And maybe that can help trigger some copywriting opportunities.
I think that's a good idea. I think the simple answer is a lot of them would say, I didn't know what I needed until we got into it, type of thing, which is a little tough. And that's the common theme is, once they're into it, our customers stick around, they like it, but it's kind of the problems you didn't know you had because you haven't done it before. But I think it's always a good idea to talk to customers. We're out there talking to them a lot these days, trying to understand when they're going to have budget to do stuff. So that's another good thing to try to bring up. So I like it.
my thought is hopefully they will be able to share with you now that they've been working with you, they can share in their own words what your value proposition was for them. And because like you said, they didn't know what they didn't know in the beginning, but now they're not in the beginning anymore because they're already your customer. Hopefully they have some kind of, I mean, if they're still paying you, they must think there's some value there. So hopefully they can articulate that. So that's my thought.
Thanks.
Great. And John?
Hi, Chuck. So I realize that you help people solve a lot of problems, but is there like an umbrella concept that you can describe in a sentence, like the problem that you help people solve?
Yeah, so getting products off the R&D bench and into stable manufacturing is the elevator pitch we've used for a few years on that.
Okay. I mean, I would start by just putting that at the very top of your website. And
it's there. I'm not sure it's working, but it's there.
oh, it's not working. But okay, so and then also, is there can you break down the process for working with you into like 3 to 4 steps that encompass everything, like a beginning, middle, and end?
It's tough because many of our customers have different entry and exit points on this. But in the general case would be to, evaluate their current situation, what their supply chain looks like. Is it set up or not? Is it working or not? What's good, what's not? Evaluate the cost situation thereof. Formulate a plan and then help them go execute the plan. Somebody mentioned, do we do it or do we train? We actually really like to go in, help get things set up, and then hand off, either help them hire people and or train existing people to manage it. We don't really want to be in the middle of managing their manufacturing over time. That's not our niche. We're not Six Sigma trainers and stuff like that. But we want to get in and get out. And hopefully as they're growing, they've got, shall we say, the revenue coming in for that. So step 1 is evaluate where you're at. Step 2 is come up with a plan. Step 3 is execute the plan. And then step 4 would be, hire our replacement, train our replacement, transfer what we're doing to in-house personnel so that they can keep turning the crank.
That's great, because my thoughts are, I know the process is unique to each client and there might technically be like 27 steps, but if you can present people with basically a clear beginning, middle, and end, just a simplified version of your process, and you put that on your website homepage, that makes it a lot easier to take that first step if they can visualize that.
We've actually developed, we call it my marketing gal calls it the accordion, but it's actually like 8 steps. I was trying to simplify this, but we actually have a nice little fold out thing that shows all the steps, and we try to work with our customers and say, well, where are you on this process, and where do you need to get to, type of thing. And that usually helps because they always think they're, and yes, there, hello, thanks, Teresa. So we are trying that. And the physical part works better for that one than the web stuff. This is, of course, a weird world now that we're doing everything by Zoom rather than going and actually talking to people.
That is absolutely true, as we're all adjusting to that still. Even I think I'm sitting on like day 65, 66, somewhere. I've lost track and I'm actually afraid to go back and count. Chuck, one of the things that I'm trying to understand is that while you work with multiple different companies and multiple different industries in various places, what is the underlying problem that you're solving for business owners?
So getting their product, again, from design into manufacturing, that last step of the product development process really is tough. People don't think it's tough, which is, of course, the hidden challenge, but it's easy to go create a design, have prototypes, Kickstarter. What a wonderful thing. We go Kickstarter this stuff. I don't know how many of you guys follow Kickstarter or invest in whatever, but it's almost a running joke now that everyone who does a physical product on Kickstarter is a year late, right? Or they fail at it. There's almost no success stories in that area because it is a lot tougher than people think.
That's my point, actually, for you, is that I really want you to get into more about what the problem is that perhaps people don't know that they are going to have. And I'm going to pass this over to Mike here in just a second, because he's probably one of the few of us on this call who's actually developed a physical product recently. But what I'm trying to understand in the marketing piece of it is, how do we help people who don't know what they don't know, in terms of your Kickstarter example, really understand that you may have a great idea, but actually getting it into true manufacturing is the most difficult thing you will ever do.
And that's,
Mike?
there's a double toughness on that, and then I'll let Mike, but people don't want to hear the bad news. We've actually lost customers because we told them it was tough. They went with somebody who told them it was easy. Sometimes they come back. We have a few cases there, but that is, in a nutshell, telling people bad news isn't always a good way to sell your company.
No, but it does get you clients who stick.
Yeah, that's
Mike?
great. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Chuck. Yeah, so I've got two products that, you know, my partner and I are engineers as well, and we've done the design, the prototyping, the rapid prototyping, the mold making, and created a product at a single cavity mold phase. We have product that we're selling for both of these two products. The interesting thing for me is thinking about supply chain for success. So finding the right place to go to get multi-cavity molds, finding the right way to provision those, to do fulfillment and all that kind of stuff. And that's a separate, I think that's a next step up maybe from some of the things that you're talking about. I just wonder what your experience with, you know, helping people at that stage is in this context. You know, if you have someone like us who can actually build things, but, you know, there's a combination of, okay, I'm going to go out now and really hit marketing hard, but all of a sudden I sell 1 million units. What the heck do I do? Right.
So every time you add a zero to your volume, there's a new challenge. Teresa, my supply chain manager up in, there she is. So she's doing a project right now for a company where we're reshoring a bunch of molds and doing some mods to them and stuff like that. So their volumes have grown, and their China solution actually isn't a good solution. So oddly, it's better in this case to come domestically. That's a whole
right. And it's, yeah, it's an interesting, yeah. One of our products is here in the US, although that manufacturer is shutting down. So we're looking for a scramble to find where to send the molds to next and things like that. So yeah, it's interesting what you're talking about for me in particular, because I've been through a lot of that struggle on my own, and between myself and my partner, we've been able to, you know, navigate that to a certain extent. We don't know whether we navigated it well or not, but at least we're here to product and we can sell these things, you know, at a pretty good level. But I'm just really right now thinking, once we come out of where we are today economically and we want to push for that growth, there's a step there that is beyond my ken at the moment, although I'm sure I could learn it, but it might be nice to have someone like you. And that, for me, that would be a piece of the puzzle if you're trying to sell yourself, to say, how do I go from that to that? You know, right. And I like that added the zero. Yeah.
Yep, adding the zero, and the difference kind of from the startups who are trying to get product one going, from our SMB customers who are trying to grow their business and or reduce cost. A huge part of our work, even for startups, is you know, reducing cost as you scale. You want to drive your costs down. Yep. And a lot of people trap themselves in solutions. Single cavity mold's an obvious example, but there are other more complex, subtle things involved with it too. Is second ops, are you over molding? Are you manually sticking stuff together? What kind of fasteners? I mean, there's all sorts of in the mechanical world there. And so, like I said, the non-startup customers tend more on that in terms of scaling. That's where the operations consulting and the supply chain part comes in. And sometimes it means redesigning too. Sometimes you know, the answer is changing how these parts fit together so that you can lower your costs that way.
I think, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to repeat what Chuck was saying there. I think for you, Mike, it's scaling production, right? Like Chuck said, every time you add a zero, you got to figure out who's going to build these things for you. And that's one of the things that we do really well somehow we have to work that into our value proposition is
Yeah,
being able to help the customers figure out how to scale the product with the right manufacturer at the right time.
Yeah,
It's a
because I think,
partnership.
yeah, right. For us, the interesting thing is we have a lot of the baseline engineering capabilities, although with less experience than you guys might bring to bear. But we've been developing products ourselves for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But not as our own product, right? As part of some other team.
Right.
So it's interesting to see that there's someone out there at that mid-level, which I haven't found before. So for me, that's a really excellent value proposition, you know, because I'm not saying I've got an idea on the back of a napkin, boy, I need some help, right? I'm saying I'm in an intermediate stage and says, all right, to your point, drive down costs. Number one, make sure that the supply chain is solid, right? That I'm not gonna have somebody just disappear suddenly. And if they how do I find someone else? You know, right now I don't have a network. And number three, as you say, if I'm going to go to making a mold that I can produce for less, I might as well take advantage of that time to re-engineer for better manufacturability or other features that we have in our minds that we haven't got into that first pass that we made, you know, a year and a half ago.
Yep. CFM is important.
I'm going to move us along. I'm going to have Shannon give our last piece of feedback, and then we'll move into Andrea's presentation to keep us going.
So Chuck, my question was when you put up the different areas in which you help folks, so it seems like you have 3 revenue streams. You got product design, supply chain, and operations consulting. Have you looked at, since now that we're a couple months into COVID, how your revenue streams, what percentage each are bringing in? And is there potential to, if maybe there isn't as much product design going on as far as getting things off the R&D shelf into production, but maybe you're able to help on the supply chain and operations consulting where, you know, you're helping them with how to minimize those expenses, or even being able to change how they're manufacturing to make it more efficient. Is that a possibility potentially for you to concentrate on some revenue streams that can continue during COVID, and maybe, I don't know. I mean,
exactly. So the things that are going well is we got several customers that are trying to bring out COVID solution projects. So that's more design, that's that sprint to the end. But the money right now is in, shall we say, the supply chain stuff, Mike's type of examples of companies that they have a real business, they're taking advantage of this time, or they kind of got burned. A lot of people got burned by the whole China mess. And so they're restructuring their supply chains. And again, it's the small, medium businesses that we think are going to be our backbone for the next 12 months in those type of areas of, you know, helping them bring up their multi-cavity mold, to use Michael's example. Reshoring projects are certainly on people's minds. And that's something we're going to try to play off pretty heavily over the next few months. There's certainly some patriotism, some flag waving. That's not our thing. I mean, but some of our customers certainly think of it that way. But there are real issues with the current Asia-centric supply chain that people are now starting to realize. So yes, we want to focus on those type of things. The old business, if you would, of startups with cool ideas that have raised a bunch of money and stuff, that's not going to happen. And that was a good chunk of our business. So there's probably a year lag for most of those companies in getting funding at this point, unfortunately.
Great. All right. Thank you very much, Chuck.
Thank you, everybody.
Teresa, we appreciate your time. Yep. I know that there's some commentary in the chat box for you, so please do take a look at that. And then I want to introduce Andrea, who will be presenting I Am Loveland. Our fun fact about Andrea is that she is recently elected to the Loveland City Council by one of the narrowest margins I think I've seen in an election in my lifetime, honestly. So Andrea, please feel free to take it away.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Yep, I won by 3 votes, so it was very narrow. But that's actually not, that's just a fun fact, right? That's not really what I'm here to talk about today. So I hope you guys can hear me okay. My internet's been a little in and out. Okay, and of course my kids' movie just ended, so they're going to be chatting with me for a sec here. So I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and they're both very involved. in all the things I do, including Zoom meetings. So I wanted to share with you my presentation today. I'm here to talk about I Am Loveland. And is it okay if I share my screen?
Please.
Okay. Super. Thank you. And don't judge me for all the tabs I have open. Okay. I know it's like techie people out there who are like, oh, too many tabs. So I want to talk to you about I Am Loveland. It's a kind of a dual mission project that I started in, early April. And it's a COVID response type project that's kind of turned into a little bit more even than that. And so today I bring to you asks. So, and I do have to actually real quick give a shout out to Harrison Hand, who I know has been part of 1 Million Cups for a while and a great contributor, and he helped me formulate this because I've just kind of been operating in a little bit of a vacuum, and he's like, we have to get your asks. So, so the asks here today from me are, do you
We may have lost some sound here.
Yeah, we lost Andrea.
those in the back of your mind?
Yes.
Oh, we see the screen.
This is the fun.
Oh,
Okay.
is it okay? Oh, I'm sorry. Is it okay?
There we go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yep,
right.
you're good. Keep going.
So what is I Am Loveland? I Am Loveland is a movement to support our local Loveland economy and nonprofits. So what happened was being a city councilor, I had, and if you're hearing beeping in the background, I'm sorry, it's one of my daughters sings, so I'll turn it off here when we go to the chat. But as a city councilor, I was, I'm in contact a lot with my constituents and a lot of the citizens in Loveland, not just in my ward, but in the city as a whole. And when the COVID shutdown happened in Loveland, I received a lot of phone calls, a lot of Facebook messages, a lot of emails from very, very concerned citizens about our small businesses and what is this economy, what's going to happen to our economy here. We just in Loveland have really started with really good momentum building up our downtown. It's starting to become a real focus. A lot of people know, and I'm sure a lot of you know this here, downtowns really are the heart of your city, and they're the heartbeat of your city. So people are very concerned with losing that character that makes Loveland Loveland, alongside not just the downtown businesses, but all of the other small businesses. Loveland has over 3,500 small businesses. A lot of them are sole proprietor. Some of them employ over 20 employees. So there's a broad range of small businesses, but they're really what, I'm speaking to the choir or preaching to the choir. I know you all know that small businesses is everything, right, in the city. So, so I decided, people had said, well, how do we contribute? How do we help our small businesses? So, we talked about doing like a 501c3 where people could donate, but what I didn't want is for people to feel like their dollars were only, just kind of going to a pot, and then a board was deciding, where those dollars would go and basically deciding the life or death of an organization or business. I didn't feel comfortable with that. And being a city councilor, I can't show, and I choose not to show any sort of favoritism at all, because I love every single one of our businesses. They are what make Loveland. And so I started really mulling this over and decided we needed to create sort of a pass-through entity, which I didn't even know that was really a thing at the time. But this entity would basically, well, I'll get into how it works, but the mission behind the entity was to allow for the community to engage in a manner that they wanted to with our small businesses and to engage with each other. And so that's why we created it as a movement that is I Am Loveland, because when you engage in this sense, you are supporting Loveland and you are Loveland. And then, of course, by doing that, we're also supporting our small businesses and we expanded to nonprofits. So our tagline is Big Hearts for Small Business, which is kind of crazy. No one else is using that. So I was kind of lucky on that I could find anyway. So how it works basically is that you would go to our website, which is iamloveland.com. So this was a website. We launched this real quick. I had a friend in social media who worked on my campaign that I leaned on. In less than 5 days, we had a social media following. In less than 7 days, we had a full-blown website. Within our first 24 hours, we already had 10 businesses that had been donated to. When you go to iamloveland.com, You are able to choose an item. So we sell t-shirts and coffee mugs and, just kind of, I don't know what the word is for that, but just, I call it gear, swag, that says I am Loveland. And then you also could choose to do just a straight donation where you don't actually receive an item. You just put money into our account, basically. When you do that, you designate a business or a nonprofit. And we don't do a drop-down menu because there's 3,500 small businesses and even more nonprofits outside of that 3,500. So you are, there's a space for you to type your own, the small business of your choosing to be a recipient of the proceed donation. And then there is a box where you can send a message to a business too. And we've had some pretty incredible messages that are sent and I'll read those to you here shortly, a couple of them. But so you choose, say, a coffee mug, like I have my little coffee mug today. So say you select a coffee mug, you select your business. So say it's, Coffee Tree, and then you put a message in there. Hey, hang in there. We love you. The coffee mug costs our customer $16.50, and then $10 of that actually is considered the proceeds because we're entirely voluntary. So we have very, very, very little admin cost, and basically just the web hosting. And actually, it's funny, someone mentioned Nancy Rumfeld. She's the CPA helping me with this project. She's running all our finances, and she's wonderful. So that $10 then goes as a donation to the business of your choice. So initially we had set this up as a LLC. We were just going to donate our profits, donate, I guess, just cut checks. And it kind of came about that we actually needed to partner with a 501c3 to dodge any sort of major tax issues, I guess. And so we did partner with a 501c3 in Loveland. And so now our proceeds go to the C3, and then the C3 cuts the checks, which has then, by bringing on the C3, enabled us to do matching. So we ran a 3-day window where we did a 200% match. And that's what these numbers are here that's probably annoying, sorry. That 120 businesses received grants, and over $30,000 was raised, and that was in our first month. The bulk of that was during that 200% match. So what we do is we approach local developers and kind of big business owners and people who we know are tend to be philanthropists, and say, hey, would you support Loveland small business and nonprofits? And so they make a donation. We ask for $5,000 as our, base donation. They make that to the C3 that we've partnered with, and then we're able to match out of that fund the dollars that come from the I Am Loveland website. So it's been really successful. This gives you an idea. This, of course, is our logo here. This is kind of the advertising that we did. We do a lot of social media. That's really our big platform to push it out. We did do a press conference. We had over 40 outlets involved. We are being featured in a magazine. We were on one of the Denver news channels. We've had a couple of the local newspapers run stories on us. So we have done reach outside of just, social media, but really social media is where it's at, especially right now during COVID. People are kind of, turning to their computers for everything, as we all know. So this was the photo that I think is going in the magazine. This is one of our little tote bags. So our match fund received $15,000 in donation that was secured. We actually are looking towards probably more like $25,000. We did have our partnership. And then we are at present running a fundraiser for veterans through our t-shirts. And so this reminded me, I threw this up here. Our local distribution, we do everything as much as possible. We do porch drop. I have, it's also grassroots. My mom is doing all the distribution actually, and she's got like 5 drivers that have volunteered to just drive and drop things off. So like this is the little bag that they deliver on the porch that my mom put together with a little sticker. And so like I said, it's very, very grassroots. But, one of the things that we had talked about, and that was what's in the asks is, is this something that has legs for something in the future? That could even be regionally expanded, perhaps. Originally I had thought maybe we would even go to like a county type reach. I know there's a lot of birthed companies that have been struggling and have been looking for help. And because we are Loveland right now, we aren't able to help them. And we are able to help nonprofits that aren't based in Loveland or businesses that aren't based in Loveland. So that's been tough because we are so regional here. So, you know, is this something that could be expanded? Is this something that has legs past COVID, or if there are additional shutdowns where it could come back to life? And then, you know, do you know anyone that maybe would want to participate in the matching funds, or would any of you like to participate in I Am Loveland or in the matching funds? So that is I Am Loveland in a nutshell. I wanted to read to you really briefly, because I know we don't have a ton of time and I tend to get wordy, just a couple of the messages that have been sent out to our businesses. And the businesses are so cute because they don't know, especially initially, they didn't know about the program at all. And so they'd receive this letter with a check, and the check could range anywhere. We really did have someone who only got $4, which killed me. But then later on, they actually got a lot more. But, you know, usually like $60-ish to, we've had recipients in, you know, actually the thousands. And so and they're grants, they're not a loan, it's not a loan program. So these businesses are just shocked when they receive these.
Andrea, I'm going to speed you up so we can get to your feedback.
Yes, of course, of course. So and I'll just share this one then. So this was a message that was sent to a business. It just says, I hope this in a small way helps. You have worked so very hard over the years. My heart breaks for you. My heart is and always will be in Loveland. I'll keep you in my prayers. So we've had some really beautiful messages shared. And I think that kind of brings bring the train to the station, sorry. But thank you all for your time listening.
You're great.
I'm looking forward to your feedback.
Great. Does anyone have immediate feedback for Andrea? My first question is, how does this play into the larger Larimer County pieces that have been out there in terms of what the Community Foundation is doing and the Larimer County Fund is doing?
So it's my understanding that those funds actually are loan funds. I don't know if the Community Foundation is doing a grant, but when they do offer something to the recipients, it is through an application. The application through through I Am Loveland is that a business is nominated by a citizen. So there isn't an application, and it is a grant. It doesn't need to be paid back. We aren't working in partnership, so to speak. We're a completely separate entity, but I think we are all addressing, you know, the same problems.
Great. Any other feedback from Andrea from the group? Jen?
Hello, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. And Andrea, I loved your presentation. And you gave me.
Thank you.
Because I'm a pet business. So, and I have a NoCO Pet Pack networking for pet businesses. And so this is actually something that I've been working on how to help these pet businesses get their feet back under their ground. So
yeah,
I love it. And I think it's great. And I feel the same way about Fort Collins. I am Fort Collins. And so,
you are Fort Collins.
So yeah, you gave me some ideas. Thanks. I may reach out to you.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Other feedback and thoughts for Andrea out there? All of you can chime in at once, really.
I was just so thorough. That's the nice thing about having a long presentation.
All right, Stephen, let's start with you.
Okay, just really quick. I appreciate your love of small business, being a small business owner myself, and here in Loveland. So I'm certainly appreciative of your activities. When you say one of your asks was whether or not this was something that could go beyond this current crisis and maybe be available for future shutdowns, which hopefully we will manage much better as a society. But the question I would have is there a way for this to be to use the I Am Loveland concept to promote small business regionally in the way that fits the time? So as COVID winds down, hopefully sooner rather than later, is it something that can be used or moved to transfer to promote just small business, local small business, and continue operating? And then if another event comes up, be able to shift back to providing that maybe direct aid. So kind of saying, can you shift away from direct aid and move to promotion and then back to direct aid if something happens? It just occurred to me while you were talking. So that's my thoughts.
That's a great idea. Can I ask, can you expound a little bit on promotion?
Just promoting the concept of, and actually Chuck talked about this a little bit too, when he talked about reshoring. It's buying local. We really need businesses or customers to buy locally to promote small business. And it is so easy to go on Amazon. I have stuff in my Amazon shopping cart right now. And I don't even know where I would go to buy this stuff locally anymore. So that's, our culture is shifting away in many ways to the ease and convenience of these online shopping opportunities at the expense of our own local economies. And it's not just our own Loveland local economy or Larimer County or Northern Colorado local economy that we're giving up. We're sending our money overseas. And then we have economic problems here in the United States. So my thought is, and we don't have to solve that problem, but is there a way that as the COVID crisis winds down, to transition the efforts to helping consumers buy locally? I mean, it's easy to buy a mug that says buy local and not change your behavior at all, right? And how do we convince people to actually
Point,
someone
Stephen.
said they were.
I'm going to wrap your comment up.
Okay, I'm done. I'm good. Sorry, I ranted.
Thank you. Thank you.
Andrea, do you want to respond to that or move on to the next piece of feedback there?
You're just waiting for me. Oh, no, all of that I completely understand. And the shop local aspect of this was a big piece of it for me initially, getting it up and going, but also that community engagement piece where people feel like they bought into and are reminded that they are Loveland, or their small business community, however that looks if it's in a different city as well.
Great. Ozzy, comment quickly from you?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. It's very much in the culture of Loveland, and I think it reflects how, in some ways, solutions have to match community values and outlooks and in the culture. And I think this is a great idea. I think one thing that I would do, going back to what Stefan was saying, is somehow if you can connect businesses, so when people come in and they buy things and they support them, they can get out there and say, well, send out thank you or post something on their website. Sometimes it would be great to also provide feedback to the people that come in and spend their money on those businesses. So that might be a good opportunity there to incentivize more local buying.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you.
Natalie?
Yeah, thanks, Andrea, for the presentation. So I won't add a lot more to what already been said, but I think that concept indeed is not just limited to Loveland. So you have to, as you said, is very local, is very sort of, and your mother distributing and things like that. If you want to be driving this to further out, you'll have to think obviously of, how do you actually get it to a more quote unquote industrial type of model, but then on the other hand, not overextend yourself. So maybe, make sure that it works. Maybe, Loveland, Fort Collins, whatever, a fairly small, around the community. And then you can potentially expand it or send out the idea to other areas, other counties further out, because that's probably something a lot of places will want to do. So that's something you want to keep in mind in the back of your head is, while you're doing it very sort of, matter of factly right now, to make it sustainable, it's a slightly different model. To make it, to make it last later, later in the thing. So again, there's enough people who can figure out who to, to help out, but that's something to keep in mind so that doesn't actually just fail, quote unquote, fail or come to a stop because there isn't the structure, the infrastructure to conduct the idea. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I think the part that I struggle with wanting to take it outside of Loveland or even to continue it in Loveland is, are people going to want to donate to businesses when you can eventually just go into the store and buy something? You know, this was so niche because everything was shut down. So I think that's my mental roadblock.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but there's a question of messaging as well. There are people who for a long time are not necessarily, we're all finding out we can live differently. I mean, that, you know, what's essential, not essential. Maybe these are questions to ask. Do I actually need to go into the store, or can I support the store in a different way? You know, I don't need to go physically because I don't want to be mingling whatever it is, or I'm at risk or whatnot, but I still want to support that. So there's, you know, again, it's just a question of messaging. You know, what are the questions? You know, if you know what you need or what you want, how can I support them, you know, without going? So it's just a parallel message. So.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Andrea, for your presentation. Round of applause there.
Thank you.
And we are just about at time this morning, so wanted to do a quick check-in and see if there were any other quick announcements before we are adjourned for the day. And Will, I see your question. Our 1 Million Cups recordings have not been posted yet. We are building the Launch NoCO YouTube channel to put those up on, so those should hopefully be out next week, where we'll be able to have a bunch of those past recordings will be up and available for everybody. All right, no other announcements out there. We're gonna head out for the day and hope that we can move through in a little bit better Zoom connections for everybody. And I will see you all next week. Have a great week and we'll talk soon.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks all.